Our movie starts with Brian, the school kid, that moved in this month in the new neighborhood and school. Brian made alarm in the middle of the night and he wake up and get down in the stairs. And in his way back, he heard an issue with his parents, but he moved on to the kitchen. And there he make his favorite sandwich, the peanut butter with onion. He get back to his room and spin the TV, but suddenly there's something happening, make his young brother shouting, what make all of the family get to his brother room, and he started to tell his parents he saw a monster behind his bed. He was so confused that make his father get his hand behind the bed, acting like there's something, and they made it a joke, but he swear he saw something, giving him the flashlight to light his room after they leave. The way out, the father was confused if he heard something, and the mother told him, of course, he heard something. That's what make him afraid. And the next morning, the mother was making their school meal. That's when Brian get down. The father told him he heard the alarm, and he hope he enjoys the movie. Brian didn't answer, and the mother continued, she hope he had a good sandwich. He told her, I didn't make any sandwich, and she told him he's the only one that makes that type of sandwich. After a while, the father was having something from the roof, and suddenly there something dropped in his suit. He get angry from Brian that told him, I didn't make this. They didn't believe him, so he admitted he had the sandwich, but he didn't make this trick. He get in the corner of the house and he was so sad, and the mother joined him to make him feel some comfort. And he told her, you don't like this place, you don't have any friends, and doesn't know anyone. And she told him things will be alright. And suddenly they hear the father shouting outside of the house and they ran into him. And they saw his bike under the car. The father was on fire because of Brian, and he told him he the one that made it, and Brian told him he have no idea about the bike, and he told him he's punished. He won't have any TV for the next 2 weeks. His younger brother was in his way back to the bus with his friend, telling him about the things that happened the last night, and he told him about the monster behind his bed. Brian arrived in the last minutes because he didn't have his bike, and he was so angry with his younger brother, telling him he's the one that make all of these tricks, and he denied it. He was so angry to get his school lunch meal and drop it out from the bus. Unfortunately, the meal hit someone, and he was the bully of the school. He was so angry with his young brother, telling him he would punish him. But suddenly the bus stopped. They get all of the food all around his face. He was so angry, telling him he will have a fight with him in the school. And during the school, he get to the Brian trying to make a fight with him. And they start fighting. That make a lot of noise. What makes the teacher come out, stop the fighting. And he stopped the fighting. And he punished Brian. In the same time, there is some young girl watching the fight and she felt bad for Brian. The girl get in the school lab and they get some photos for them with the cam right there in the lab. And Brian know she hear about plants. And she made some experiment with some plant for her test. And she was getting photos every single day for the plant grow time lapse. And that's when Brian get an idea for her, telling her he can take all of these photos and make a video from them, like a time lapse. And she was so happy for this idea. And the way back, his brother dare him to stay in his room because he think there's a monster there, and he accepted. He get his clothes to stay the night there. And his brother and his friend told him he have to turn the light off and close his door. And immediately he accepted. And his father was joking with him about the monster, telling him he have to find it. On the other side of the house, his brother was having a story with his friend, a horror stories. And Brian was listening to them, and he tried to make them afraid after that. In the way back in his room, he felt something is wrong. And he tried to open the light, but he figured out there's something wrong with the light tap. What make him afraid after seeing some horror movie playing in the TV that make him sleep on the couch. They was having a joke about him, but he told them to double the dare because he will sleep in the same room this night, and they accepted. He prepared everything to catch this monster behind his bed all of the day, preparing for it. And when came the night, he make sure the trap is working and make some detonators in the room floor to catch the monster. And he slept, and suddenly he woke up in some food-eating noise, and he know now he can catch the monster. And he turned his trap on, and he catch something, but he saw something didn't get in the trap, trying to hide in the room. He get his flashlight, and he saw something trying to catch him from the back of the room. That make him in a fight with it, and he started to shout everywhere. That make his father get in the room, and he told him he caught the monster. And when the father turned the light on, he didn't see anything, and he was so angry because of the food in the floor, telling him it's just a clothes. He was so confused, trying to touch this clothes everywhere to know if there's something still there. And suddenly there's something happens, that the clothes start to move with itself, and there is something get out of the clothes. It's the monster. He tried to not make this process continue, but he was so weak, and the monster get back from the clothes. The monster was so angry, and Brian told him if he didn't get back, he will scream and get his father in the room. He told him they won't believe you, and he started to act like crazy. And suddenly he was so afraid when sunlight get in his face, and he screamed he can't handle the sunlight. He tried to hide himself behind the bed, but he couldn't, and he started to transform. There is some horns get out of his skull. He begged Brian to let him go and get behind the bed, and Brian didn't accept it. And suddenly the sun started to rise up, and he started to burn. And in the last seconds, Brian get his clothes that left after he disappeared behind the bed, and he transferred here again to the monster, and he told him he'll catch him later, and his name is Maurice. In the next day, his parents was painting the wall in the house, but they couldn't find the remote control to change the channel. And in the backyard, Brian and his young brother was walking, and their father asked them if they know the remote place, and they told him they don't know. At the end of the day, Brian was waiting for the monster, and he made a trap with a lot of lights in his room if the monster appeared in front of him, and the monster did, but he let him continue his words. After that, he turned the light on, make him shrink in his clothes, and he told him he get it, he can't handle the light, and make him get smaller. He begged Brian to shut down the light, but Brian was so angry with him, telling him he know he's the one that made all the traps from the ice cream, the bike, and the remote control, and the monster apologized, so he turned the light off. He told him he was so happy with Brian, and he told him he is in this job for 200 years, and he wasn't trapped even once. And Brian asked him, how old are you? And he told him he's 11 years old, and he told him it's his lucky night. Brian interrupted him if he will make his 3 wishes, and he told him the monster can't do this, but he will get him under his bed. It's the monster world, and they jumped in his world. He started to show him everywhere in this world, and Brian was amazed. He showed him the craziest monster in his world, and Brian was confused why they have a lot of stairs, and he told him all of the stairs lead to the bedrooms of the children, and they start to play all the night. And he showed him these places that they are playing in their world, and they played all the night, and he let him eat anything he want, and they party all the night. They get in front of some monster waiting for paper, and Brian know it's like an airport. They get a credit for the stairs to get under any bedroom for the children, and they started to make tricks and problems and jokes in the children rooms in the night. Brian told the monster he want to make a trick for someone he know, and he chose the bully of the school to make the tricks in his house. They changed the sandwich that they saw in the fridge with a cat food and made this with his drink. In the next morning, all the children that did make a tricks in their houses had a problem with their families. And the lunchtime in the school, the bullier had a bad time with his food, and all the children's school left on him. And the next night, the monster didn't show up, and Brian tried to get in his world, and he succeeded after his hand get in his world, and he jumped behind his bed to the monster world. And this night, Brian chose to get in the girl room that he know in the school, and he find out she care about him, and she still have his photo from the lab. The monster couldn't stop himself to make a trick for the girl, and he cut all of her assignment for the school. On the other side in his house, his young brother find out he is not there, and the monster world there is some big monster who's bullying some other monster, and he punched him by taking his head off and put other head. Brian was continue his party in the night, and he played with the monster with the ball, and the ball get really far. So Brian tried to get it, and suddenly he met the big monster that was so angry, and he tried to drop him off the mountain. But in the last minute, Morris got him and saved him. And in the morning, they were in the lab. Unfortunately, Christina didn't had her assignment for the lab, and she was so sad because she find all of her homework cut into small pieces. And back in this night, Brian was so angry because the monster cut Christina work into pieces, and he told him he the reason because she get a deal, and he asked the monster to leave him alone and get back to his world. His dad get in his room and told him he need him to talk with him and his mother, and he told him he will leave the house going to the city to work. But Brian get angry and told them they will get divorced, but they tell him they won't, but they need some time separated from each other while working in the relationship. Brian get back to his room up the stairs, looking in the monster clothes. The monster get back when he turned off the light. He tried to be kind with him, telling him things would be right, and they get back to his world to have some fun. And they start the show. All the monster was everywhere in the children rooms making tricks and funny jokes. They tried to make angry child afraid, but Brian didn't handle it, and he started to be angry, and he told them to stop, telling them this is cruel. But he recognized there's something in his hand, make him like transform. He handled to escape the house and get back to his house, find out there is something going on with his hand and his body, and he recognized he's shrinking, and maybe he's transformed to a new monster. His mother was having some conversation with her friends, and she heard something going on up the stairs, and that's where Brian was making something. And the other side, the big monster was having some conversation with Morris, telling him he have to get him the child. And Morris told him, leave him alone. He told him if you can't get him, I will, because I need him in our world, to be honest. After a while, his mother was so angry with Brian, woke him up, telling him his brother disappeared. So Brian know what happened, and he get back to the monster world, and he ran to his young brother friend, telling him he have to listen to him. And he told him everything, and they get to the Christine house, telling her everything, and they get back to his room, and he gets them in the monster world, and they had all of the lights that they can get, and they start to attack every monster they saw with the flashlight they have, and the monster start to run away from them, and he know he had to meet the boss of this world, and his name is Eric. After he handled to find him, he told them he have to transform himself to a monster to get his brother back. Brian was so pissed off with Eric, and he told him, show me my brother, and he told him okay, and suddenly his brother appeared tied up with some game. Eric told him they will make a deal. And Brian told him there is no deal, and if you didn't let him go, I start to attack you. Eric didn't listen to him, and he started to get the flashlight in his face, and he started to burn. But suddenly there is something happen in the world, and everywhere was attacking them. And they catch Brian and let him in some jail with his friends, and he find out they are in the same jail with Morris. They used their knowledge to make a way to escape, and they handle it, shrinking Morris' body to get under the door and open the door from outside and let them go. They get back to the school lab, getting all the lights they can, and get back to the monster world to get his brother back. And in his way back, he get the school bully with him, cause he trusts he's evil. And they start to attack the monsters, and they handle to get his brother. But they know there is no way back after the big monster get in front of them, telling them they can't escape. But suddenly, Morris appears and saves them from the monster, hitting him with the fire. And they start to run, and when they arrive, they recognize they can't get back, cause all of the stairs is closed, and they can't get anywhere out of this world. But they continue trying to find any door open. And after a lot of searches, they handle to open some door behind some bed in the beach. Brian and Morris say goodbye and let him out under this bed. On the other side, the boys call their house, telling them their child get back, and they were so happy, and they get back to each other.